Welcome everybody from our MVTec headquarters in Munich to our first ever product news webinar. It's great that you're all here and that you're curious to listen what's new about the MVTec products. But in case this all goes too fast and you don't know us so well, let me quickly introduce our company to you. We are MVTec Software. We are a leading international manufacturer for machine vision software. And actually, it's time to celebrate since we are turning 25 years this month. But let's talk about the present. In the next 90 minutes, you will get all important information regarding our products, Helkin, Merlick, and the deep learning tool. For the first time, we combine our webinars to present all our products in one webinar to highlight that our growing MVTec product portfolio goes hand in hand. And now, let's have a look on today's agenda. Part 1, we start with a short product introduction. Then we move to the product news, and we end with a Q&A session. Therefore, feel free to ask your questions during the presentations in the GoToWebinar application. But in case you're wondering who's actually talking to you here, I'm now happy to introduce you the speakers of today. With me is Mario Bohnacker, Product Manager Helkin. We can look forward to Christian Eckstein, Product Manager Deep Learning Tool, and we listen to Christoph Wagner, Product Manager Merlick. The guy on the right side on the slide is me, Markus Setzer. I'm part of MVTec's marketing team. One more thing before we start. Directly after the webinar, in the next few days, you will receive an email with a recording of this webinar. That's it for now. We see each other again later for the Q&A session. And now, let's welcome Mario to tell us news about Helkin. Mario, thanks.
Thank you, Markus. A very warm welcome also from my side. I'm here to show you the product Helkin. So what is Helkin? Helkin is a toolbox. It is the most comprehensive standard software for machine vision on the market. It is used worldwide and enables cost saving as well as improved time to market. There's no need for an extensive in-house development and no necessity to buy and handle multiple software packages, as everything from image acquisition up to the latest vision technology is ready to go in this toolbox Helkin. Besides that, Helkin is fast. Helkin provides outstanding performance and a comprehensive support of multi-core platforms, special instruction sets like AVX2, Neon, as well as GPU acceleration. Our data structures and algorithms guarantee fast processing for standard filters as well as high complex technologies. And besides this, Helkin supports an automatic operator parallelization, which makes the best use out of multi-core platforms. But speed is not everything. Besides speed, Helkin is very accurate. Helkin can perform sub-pixel accurate measurements. MVTec software includes operators and development assistance for different kind of calibration methods. So these powerful tools enable you to remove lens distortions from images and measure objects in real-world coordinates, to be used also to combine machine vision with robotics, for example. So no matter what kind of accuracy is needed for your application, combine suitable hardware with Helkin and your requirements will be reached. Last but not least, Helkin is robust. Helkin has proven itself worldwide in tens of thousands of applications and is used in almost every industry and application area. All of our methods are highly robust. For example, the Helkin's bar and data code reading, which can read bar and data codes even if they are disturbed, if they are damaged, if there is some factors like overexposure, defocus, and something like this. And of course, Helkin provides all the deep learning technologies you need to solve real industrial machine vision applications. So I mentioned that Helkin is a toolbox, or you could also refer to it as maybe the Swiss Army knife for machine vision. It contains everything which is needed to solve machine vision tasks. For image acquisition, for example, Helkin supports all common standards as well as a wide range of proprietary interfaces for different kind of cameras which are on the market. Helkin can also be used on various platforms. So it's not only Windows, Linux or Mac, but also it runs out of the box on ARM platforms, and it can be ported to specific platforms. So if you have a specific platform in mind on which you want to run Helkin, get in touch with us and we can talk about how it may be possible to port Helkin to this specific platform. With HDevelop, we provide a unique integrated development environment which is specialized for the needs to machine vision. But of course, you can also use programming language which you are comfortable with, like for example, C++, C#, C, or we also have a language interface for Python. And last but not least, the core of Helkin. It's its powerful image processing library. The flexible and robust image processing library contains algorithms for nearly every possible machine vision application you can think of. We have a wide range of calibration operators, our well and widely used shape matching technology. We have different kind of technologies for identification of objects with data codes, barcodes, OCR. There are different tools for powerful pre-processing, like for example, image filtering, blob analysis, and morphology operators. And of course, we also have powerful 3D algorithms, like for example, our surface-based matching. Besides that, I already mentioned it before, a wide range of state-of-the-art deep learning technologies, which you can combine easily with the traditional machine vision algorithms, which are also in this toolbox, Helkin. So to quickly summarize, Helkin has more than 2,100 operators in its library. We support multi-core and multiprocessor systems for you to get the highest speed out of your applications. We support state-of-the-art instruction sets and GPU acceleration. And to mention it again, we can have sub-pixel precise accuracy when you're using Helkin library. HDevelop is our highly interactive programming environment. It also runs on Windows, Linux, and Mac, and it enables you to develop image processing solutions fast and efficiently. This can be done even while acquiring images from an image acquisition device, and there's a multitude of graphical tools for data and image inspection. So the HDevelop UI has an optimized usability and delivers a huge number of tools and assistants which are specialized for machine vision for you to quickly get to a machine vision solution. But if you now ask yourself, okay, Helkin seems to be a very powerful tool or product, but I don't have the expertise of programming, or maybe you just don't want to do programming, then my colleague Christoph Wagner has something for you.
Thank you, Mario, for this smart link to me. I want to show you what is the meaning of Merlick. But I want to start a little bit earlier in the chain. So let's start from the requirements from the production to such kind of all-in-one software. The first requirement from the industry is all-in-one. What does all-in-one mean? All-in-one means that everything is included in the software you need for solving your application. The next topic is easy to use. What does easy to use mean? Easy to use means that also non-vision experts can handle that kind of software. So their job is not to solve everyday vision applications, and they should can handle also this kind of software. That means, as Mario mentioned, solving the application without the need of programming. Fast setup is one additional important point. So we see the trend that the industry or the products out of the industry have shorter product life cycles. And that means also for the production line, they have to fast up their ramp up phases from 0% production performance to 100% in shorter time. And even so, we have to improve or fasten up the setup time of the vision systems. And last but not least, we have the flexibility. Flexibility in different kind of dimensions. Flexibility in kind of hardware compatibility, image processing tools, and at least the pricing. And our answer to that is, this requirements is Merlick. In Merlick, image processing is in the center, for sure. Image processing is where we come from. But image processing is by far not everything you need for solving your application. At first, you need a platform which can execute Merlick or your vision software. And therefore, it's important to have the flexibility in choosing the platform. Our Merlick is running on Windows Intel-based systems, x64-bit, but for bundle partners, it's also available for Linux and also for ARM-based platforms. So if you're watching out for bundles or you're thinking about to create your own bundle, please get in contact with us. Starting the application is always the first step, the image acquisition. And that's the reason why we have our image source manager, which is completely separated from the image processing part and is serving all you need for setting up your camera system. The live image, setting up the configuration, the different kind of hardware trigger modis. And with our image source manager, we're providing the industrial standards for image acquisition, like GigiVision, USB 3 Vision, GenTL, and read image from file. Our next very important part is the communication. What helps you the best image processing if you cannot communicate in a proper way with your industrial environment? That's the reason why we include our Merlick communicator. It's also completely separated from the image processing part and serves the common industrial communication standards like OPCUA machine vision, MQTT, socket communication, digital I/O cards, or even different kind of field buses with the help of the Hilscher CFX cards. And if this is not enough for your application or doesn't fit to your application, you easily can use our open interface, which makes it possible to integrate Merlick in your framework, in your software framework, or even in your hardware framework. And last but not least, you want to visualize your application. You as a user want to know what happens in the machine or what was the result of the last part you produced. And this is the reason why we have our front-end designer, which gives you the possibility to create your own front ends and visualize the front end directly on your machine or even on remote devices. And this package makes Merlick to your all-in-one machine vision software for the development and also for the runtime environment. Now let's see how easy to use software looks like with our Merlick creator. So as you can see, this is the user interface of Merlick. In the middle, we have our processed image. There you can see always what the tool that you have selected. You can see what happens in the tool or what kind of parameters you set for this tool. This helps a lot. The next step is our tool library. The tool library offers you more or less every tool you need for solving your application, and you can easily put out of the tool library the needed tool into your tool flow. The tool flow is more or less the DNA of your vision application, the blueprint. It shows you in a very convenient way what happens when. On the right side, we have the tool quick info. The tool quick info provides the information to the selected tool directly to you. So this saves a lot of time because especially for non-experts, maybe they're using the tool for the first time and they get directly tips and tricks on the right side without navigation through the user manual. This saves a lot of time. And now I say easy to use and usability. Here we have a small feedback button because feedback of you is our basement where we can improve our usability or directly know what you want to have in Merlick. So please use this feedback button to give us your feedback if you're testing Merlick, if you have problems with Merlick, or if you have improvements, or even if Merlick is okay for you. And it's also nice to hear that you're excited about Merlick. So please use the feedback button. So now let's have a look how a easy application we can create in Merlick looks like. Our task now is to count these green marked through holes on this break disk. For that, we have our image acquisition done already. Then we switch into the tool box or in the tool library and drag and drop our counting tool into the tool flow. Now we use our easy touch with hovering over the image, selecting the area we want to count, and that's it. With a click, we accept the proposal of easy touch. The next step we have to do is to give Merlick the logic, more or less the expected number of through holes to decide if the image is okay or not okay. So we link our counting tool with our logic element, and then we give Merlick the information that these through holes we expect 8 times per image to be okay. Now with these small clicks, we give the information of okay and not okay to the interface so that later the front end and also the PLC can easily access to that result. Now it's done, the first small application is set up. Now we want to start the visualization, so create a front end for the user. For that, we drop in a small picture or image, so that more or less a camera image. We link this image with the current tool. Afterwards, we need a small LED indicator which shows us the result of the current checked part, or in a better way, connect this with the before or previously result of our logic element. And now the last step, what we have to do is we put in a small control widget, which gives us the possibility to start and stop the application directly out of the front end. So now it's done. We have our vision application. We're counting this through holes, and we get back the result through the Merlick front end if it's okay or not okay. Now you see, and now you have a glimmer about how easy it could be to configure your application without programming and with only configuring your application. Now let's see how fast setup looks like in Merlick and the typical workflow of an application. We open the Merlick creator. This was the user interface we saw before, creating our machine vision app, starting our image source manager for setting up the camera or the image source with the ROE, exposure time, or even the trigger mode. Then we open our Merlick front-end designer. You saw already how this gonna works. Design our front ends, maybe a little bit more fancier than we had in the example before, because there are so many possibilities with user management and all this stuff, what is necessary, small statistics, and so on. In the next step, we set up our runtime environment. The runtime environment is more or less the deployment platform. We're setting up what kind of recipes we need, which MV app, which kind of communication we're using, which information is available in this interface. So if we have set up the deployment platform, then we start our Merlick runtime environment, and then it runs automatically. It starts the communication, it starts the MV app, the recipes, starts the front end if you designed one of it, and now Merlick is ready for inspecting your application. So fast can it be to solve your application with Merlick. I mentioned already flexibility before. Flexibility in more dimensions. The first dimension of flexibility is the hardware. It's important for easy to use all-in-one software to support all common cameras out there. And this is, and in the best case, vendor independent, because every company is using their own brand of cameras. On the other side, or the next point is the communication I mentioned already. So this software should provide the most common industrial interfaces out of the box, but also should be enlarged enlargeable with the Open API, so that it could really fit into your environment. The third point is the flexibility on the platforms. As I mentioned already, we have Merlick available out of the box for Intel systems, based on Windows, but also available for Linux and ARM-based platforms in case of bundle partnership. And now maybe one future point is the AI accelerator support. Deep learning is a current topic, but I think in the future it will be a major topic more and more. And for those, we have the support of so-called deep learning accelerators. That means it's a special kind of hardware which makes it really efficient to accelerate or to inference your deep learning algorithms or tools. And also Merlick will have this support in the future. The next dimension of flexibility is the tools. I talked already about deep learning. For sure, we're providing deep learning functionalities in Merlick. And but what we know is that in the industrial environment, deep learning is in most cases not the 100% solution. So it's a combination of classical image processing we did the last 25 years already, and the new technology with deep learning. And with Merlick, you get both. You have the latest deep learning functionalities, but also the classical approach and the classical tools we used the years before. And to this classical approach, we're also counting our pre-processing and post-processing tools, so easy filtering or stuff like that. And last but not least, the logic elements I showed before for more advanced applications. So if you're using branches and conditions within your MV app. And last but not least, also the pricing should be flexible. There are so many different kind of applications out there, and the software has to fit to these applications also with the pricing. And that's the reason why we introduced with Merlick 5 our new flexible package model. We provide Merlick in 4 different packages: small, medium, large, and X large. The main difference here is the supported number of image sources. With Merlick small, you only can handle 1 image source, more or less 1 camera. With Merlick medium, you can handle 2, and with Merlick large, you can handle 4 of them. Merlick X large is another story. I came later too. And additional to this image source support, we have our add-ons. For example, the deep learning add-on, which gives you the possibility to use deep learning if it's necessary, and our extension tools, which gives you the possibility to enlarge the tool set of Merlick with the help of Helkin. And with Merlick X large, all the available add-ons are already included. And with this concept and with these packages, we can serve in a perfect way small, medium, and high-end applications. Easy to use software does not mean you have limitations for your applications. With the easy to use software, you can do measuring jobs, measuring distances, diameters, angles. You can find defects on different kind of surfaces. You can check for completeness, for example, on this kind of connector, or you can even count objects or through holes or even objects on a conveyor belt. We have the topic of reading. Reading is a bigger topic because it's clear text reading, but it also includes the 1D, so barcode reading, and 2D code reading. Position determination means to check is the part on the right position or in the right dimensions. And with Merlick 5, we add 2 new features or two new areas with our detect anomalies, I will come later on, and our deep learning classify images. And for the deep learning classify image, I think Christian will give you the connection between the deep learning tool and Merlick.
Thank you very much, Christoph. So what I'm going to do now is give you an overview of what the deep learning tool is and why in the middle of the Merlick part I'm talking about the deep learning tool. So what's the idea behind the deep learning tool? Why is it a separate product and why is it not included in Merlick? So when we integrated deep learning into our product portfolio, we learned pretty early that our customers will have to spend a lot of time labeling and managing their data. So this can be 70–80% of the total project time. And we noticed that in order to speed this up, because this comes with high cost and effort, we have to have one solution that just supports labeling and data management. So we came up with a deep learning tool, and this is geared towards fast labeling. This is geared towards a seamless integration into our product portfolio. So it works very well with Helkin and Merlick. And since data quality is crucial to the accuracy and robustness of the solution in the end, the deep learning tool is trying to actively support the user finding problems in data quality and improving their deep learning models. It currently includes labeling. So with this release, next week, it will include labeling for all methods that are in the MVTec product portfolio, so that are supported with Helkin. And for classification, it also supports training and evaluation. And this is where this connection with Merlick is important. So as I said, the deep learning tool is kind of a facilitator for both products. So it provides training data and it provides finished trained models to the other two products. So how can this workflow and this switch between the products look like? So typically you would start image acquisition in either HALCON or MERLIC, same with pre-processing. And then those finished images would be imported into the deep learning tool for management, for labeling. And then you would also have the option to train in the deep learning tool using no code, so not having to program anything. So you can easily play around with it and try to answer the question, can I solve my problem with deep learning in this case? And afterwards, you would export the finished model into the respective product for inference and integration. So now, very practically, how would this look like? I want to use deep learning classification for Merlick. How would this workflow work? So we would start with labeling. For classification, that's very intuitive. Here you can see we are assigning those toothbrushes just based on color to a specific class. And this is very convenient and very quickly. Then the model training is done in 3 simple steps. So step 1 would be you create a split. Step 2 is you create a model or several models. And then you configure the training for each model. So how does the split work? So what you do here is you assign your images to 3 data sets. So that's the training data set that the actual model is trained on, the validation data set that those iterations of the model are validated against, and then the test set. And this is used for evaluation, for you to know how well does this model solve my machine vision problem. And here's one example of how the deep learning tool tries to support our users achieve the best results. So here in this distribution panel, you can see, do I have a good distribution in my split, or do I have a problematic one? Here on the right, you see the problematic distribution where the class 2 is massively underrepresented, and the validation and testing sets only have 3 images in them. So this will probably be a problem in the end. After the split, you configure your training. So here you select the model type, you select pre-processing parameters, a device that you want to train on, and then you set your hyperparameters. And again, this really supports this easy to use and very accessible idea of deep learning, which works very well with Merlick, because the help screen, so the documentation is included in the same screen. So if you're not sure what does learning rate actually do, you can just very easily look it up to the right. So this helps you get access to deep learning very quickly. Then I start my training, and here I have all the necessary statistics that I need. So if the training is not going according to plan, you can abort the training, change some hyperparameters, and restart. And then the last step would be evaluation. Here, the overview tab gives you just a very quick overview at one glance. What's the quality of my model? So in this case, on the test set, we have 1 false predictions, and the rest is correct. So this is 1 false positive, I think. So this is just for the user to see at one glance what's my quality. And if I want to go deeper into this, we have this interactive confusion matrix, and here you can get into each classes. You can, in this example, see this false positive. You can also activate the heat map to see on each individual image what's the area of pixels that's most relevant for the decision that the model made. Well, and if I'm satisfied with my model, so in this case, at a 99.3% accuracy, if I'm satisfied, I can export the model for inference, save it to my hard drive, and then open it with Merlick again. And how this is processed further, how this looks in Merlick, Christoph is going to show us now.
Thank you, Christian, for this perfectly trained and evaluated classifier. In the meantime, I prepared a small MV app. No, I'm just joking. I did that before already. Here we can see our front end. We have with this kind of classifier, the heat map shows the most interesting areas in the image, which have the most influence to the decision of the neural network. And how we did that, or how we used the classifier Merlick, we can see here. We have more or less 2 tools which are necessary for using the deep learning classifier directly in Merlick. We have our image acquisition, and then the next tool is already to use or execute the trained classifier. How easy this could be. So you do not have any line of code also for deep learning application. The rest of this MV app here is only used for showing results directly on the front end. So if you're now interested in classification in Merlick, please visit our website. There we have a small feature video which shows step by step how this really works. The next, here we have the tool flow again. What Christian already mentioned, we have the image acquisition done in Merlick, the pre-processing, because it was already aligned for the classifier. Then we choose the deep learning tool for management and labeling the data set, trained the classifier, and used it in Merlick. Our second feature we provided with Merlick 5 is the detect anomalies, which is also deep learning based. In that case, we had some bottleneck inspection. The positive or the USPs of the anomaly detection is you only need a few good images for train the classifier. So you can more or less switch between the classification to classify your image as a good or bad image, or maybe a different kind of classes, or you can use the anomaly detection. But in our case, we do not have really enough pictures for train the bad classes. And especially if you set up your application or you start your ramp up phase in your production, the anomaly detection is a very helpful tool, because good images, I think you have more or less from the start of your production. But really a data set of bad images with different kind of defects, it's mostly not available. And this is exactly when you start with anomaly detection. Let's have a look on the MV app. What did we in this MV app for using our detect anomalies? We have at first our image acquisition, then we'll locate the bottleneck into the inside the image, because we have a small disalignment, what is okay and completely normal in the industrial environment. Then we align the image to the center of the we align the bottleneck to the center of the image, and then the next step is already our deep learning anomaly detection. So now if you're interested also in our anomaly detection, please also here visit our website. We have a small feature video which guides you step by step how the detect anomalies gonna works. And I brought with me some real-life applications we solved with our new features in Merlick. The first one is out of the food and packaging production or industry, and we used the classification for solving the job. The task was to find these small clips which closes the seal, the package of this toast package. And what could happen? So this clip is not existing, or this clip could be only closed or clipped not in the right way. And then it happens that the material, the bread, contaminates the machine and you have to clean up the machine. Or even if it's not closed in the right way, the customer at the supermarket buys this kind of bread package and the quality of the bread is not as expected. On the second camera, we have the side view, and here we are inspecting the compactness of this packet bread. It's very important because if the compactness is not right, or even there is disalignment, you can get problems later with the pelletizing, or even the customer buys this bag of bread and this is not the quality he expects from the product itself. The challenges here are big because we have multiple different kind of packaging size. So we have 6, 12, or 24 slices of bread. We have different kinds of prints because every vendor or every product has its own print, and we have different kind of sorts of bread. So means the brightness of the bread. And what happens if this clip is not closed in the right way? So as I mentioned, the machine getting contaminated, so that you have to stop your production line and clean up the whole machine. And 100% inline inspection by humans is not applicable here. And what we did here, or what we could achieve was 100% generic independent classifier, which can handle different kind of sort of breads, different kind of printings, and the different sizes of the packages with one program. So it's not a need for setting up the image processing system for every kind of product. So it's 100% generic classifier. And with this system, we can lower the downtime of the system, and on the same time, we can higher the quality of the product itself. And it's a win-win situation for everyone in this chain. Another example I have brought with me is out of the semiconductor industry. Therefore, we used our anomaly detection. Here you can see small PCBs. A problem of this production is the defect types are very diverse. So we have fingerprints, we have scratches, we have solder problems, contamination, and the problem is it's a very stable process in general, and the defect images are completely rare. So it's more or less impossible to have all defect classes available if you start your application. But on the other side, we have a high demand for the defect detection, because if a defect existing in this early step, you maybe will recognize the defect at the end of the production line, or in the worst case, the customer buys the product and it doesn't work. So this is really the worst case and has the highest cost for the producer. With our anomaly detection, we were able to solve that job, increase the quality of the product, and we only needed a handful of good images for train this classifier. Again, especially in the ramp-up phase, if you have good parts or good images and no defect images, the anomaly detection would be your tool for solving your application and to ramp up faster, but finding in a very robust way every anomaly which occurs if you've set up your application. Now, maybe you might know that we released Merlick 5 on October the 7th, and this is the reason why we have a market introduction offer for you. And this offer lasts 2 months. That means it ends on December 7th. And the content of this introduction offer is, because we have new deep learning functionalities with Merlick, if you buy your Merlick license, you will get the deep learning add-on for free. So if you're thinking about easy to use deep learning application, Merlick is your product, and please use this period to save your Merlick version. And now, at least, I want to give you a small outlook what comes when. We will release Merlick 5.1 in spring next year already. The next major feature will be deep learning OCR. We have this feature already available in Helkin. This feature means deep learning based text reading. This is a really easy to use high-end technology which could more or less read everything, and this more or less without needed parameters. So be excited about the deep learning OCR functionality in Merlick. With Merlick 5.1, we will introduce for the first time a new category of tools, the so-called concept tools. That means, you maybe remember, I talked about feedback. And to get a really early feedback from you as a user, we decided to provide already the first prototypes or the first concepts of new tools within this category to get a very early feedback from you how you expect that this tool has to work. So in this case, please use our feedback button to give us a better feeling about what is good, what is bad, and what we have to improve for the new tools. And the first concept tool we will provide is the deep learning object detection. And last but not least, our deep learning accelerator support, Openvino, with our AI Square. And I think Openvino is a good keyword for Mario, and he will explain you that Openvino has nothing to do with drinking wine.
Thank you, Christoph. Yes, Openvino is one of the features which are available with the new Helkin release 21.11, which we just released yesterday. And maybe you already had a chance to download it and test a few of the new functionality, which I want to introduce to you today here. So what are the major topics of this new Helkin release? The mentioned Openvino Toolkit plugin. We have an improved code 128 reader. We added a new member to our deep learning technology family, the deep learning instance segmentation. We further improved the generic shape matching, which we introduced with Helkin 21.05. And we simplified the syntax for the dictionaries. So let's get a little bit into more detail in these topics. Christoph mentioned already the Openvino toolkit. At the moment, there is a lot of deep learning accelerator hardware out there. And of course, we want to provide a solution for you to use them together with Helkin. Therefore, we implemented an interface which we call AI Square, which stands for AI Accelerator Interface. And you can see it here in our schematic drawing of all the components of Helkin. And this interface allows us to quite easily integrate such kind of different accelerator hardware to be used with Helkin. And the first two examples we've listed here is our TensorRT plugin, which is available since Helkin 21.05, and now also the Openvino Toolkit plugin. Every one of you who is following MVTec news regularly might have noticed that we had already a press release about Openvino a month ago. And the reason for this is that this is not really a 21.11 feature, as this is independent of a Helkin version. So you can use Openvino Toolkit already starting Helkin 21.05. So if you're using Helkin 21.05 already out there, download Openvino, the Toolkit plugin, and then you can use it with Helkin. So what is the Openvino Toolkit plugin? Basically, Openvino is a toolkit to use or Openvino compatible hardware for deep learning accelerating. For you, it opens up the possibility of your choice of hardware when working with Helkin. And there is two major benefits when using Openvino with Helkin, which I will introduce you in a small example and in a few seconds. This Openvino Toolkit plugin can be used for all Helkin deep learning technologies which are available since Helkin 2105. So what are the actual use cases of this Openvino plugin? Here I've just drawn a small example of a machine which is running in production. Maybe it's something like the bottle mouth inspection my colleague Christoph showed you with Merlick, but in this case solved with Helkin. And the machine is running and your output is at maybe around 95%. So typically someone of your management comes up and says, oh, I heard something about deep learning. Let's use it because deep learning helps for everything. And then you just look at your system and you have no possibility to change any hardware. You don't have the possibility to put in high-powered GPUs as your industrial PC setup is fixed, and yeah, no need and no possibility to change. So as you've seen on the slide before, Intel Openvino also supports some kind of USB stick, which is able to be used as a deep learning accelerator. So by this Openvino Toolkit plugin for Helkin, you can simply use this USB stick of Intel, plug it into your machine, since a USB slot mostly is available on your machine, and then you are able to run deep learning on it. And by updating your software, you may be possible to get a higher output when deep learning is introduced. So one major use case of this plugin is to make existing machines ready for deep learning with very little effort. Here you can see some runtimes of such kind of hardware compared to the regular CPU runtime. And what you see here is that it's not a major speed up when you convert your deep learning from an Intel CPU to the VPU, for example. But by doing this, you make computational power available on your CPU for other tasks. So this is one benefit here when you use such kind of hardware to run deep learning on. The second use case is you have a machine, same example, which runs the inference on the existing CPU of Intel, and you reach around 100 milliseconds. And typically your management comes up and asks you to speed up the machine. But here, same thing, you do not have any possibility to change the system, so you cannot just extend hardware. And here, again, the Openvino Toolkit plugin comes into the equation, as when you use this Toolkit plugin, you simply switch from Intel CPU to the Openvino Toolkit implementation. It's just one parameter in the Helkin script, and you can speed up your inference to up to a factor of 5. And here you can see the benchmark values for the typical pre-trained networks in Helkin when you run them in the CPU implementation, or if you use the Openvino Toolkit plugin implementation. And the more complex the network, the higher the factor of the speed up. Here we benchmarked on an Intel Core i9 CPU, so it's already a quite powerful CPU. But yeah, another major benefit of this Openvino Toolkit implementation is speeding up deep learning inference on Intel CPUs. As I mentioned, we implemented this AI square interface to be able to add up Helkin with different kind of hardware, so stay tuned in the future. Of course, there will be also more support of other hardware coming up. The next topic I want to show you is the code 128 reader improvements. The code 128 is a code which is quite often used in logistics industry, and in a lot of these logistics applications, there's a high speed needed. So the packages are literally flying around the logistics centers, and due to the high speed, there is a lot of blur inside the image, or packages have different sizes and working distances to cameras are varying. Due to this, you can also get quite a lot of blur inside the image. So especially for this scenario, we increased the decoding rate for code 128 reader, and to make them more robust and more stable in case you get blur inside the image. For you to get a little bit of an impression, in this example on the top, you see one code which is synthetically blurred, and you see after the first two examples, Halcon 2105 was not able to read this code anymore. With Halcon 2111, you are now able to read such kind of codes, even with very high blur inside the image. Another topic is our generic shape matching. Generic shape matching was introduced in Halcon 2105 as kind of a usability wrapper for the powerful shape-based matching, which is available in Halcon since more than 20 years. One of our core technologies and one of our features we are very proud of. And with Halcon 2111, we here enhanced this kind of feature for usability based on feedback we got from you. And we integrated the clutter feature, optimized the handle inspection, and integrated more and more parameter into automatic parameter estimation. So just a small recap here from Halcon 2105. When you are using Halcon shape-based matching so far with Halcon, you had a lot of different operators, as you can see in the circle around, and where you had to choose from which kind of shape-based matching do I need? Do I need to use XLD or image input? Do I want to have an ISO-scaled image or an ANISO-scaled image? Or do I even need scaling at all? So to reduce this amount of operators, we introduced this wrapping functionality that for you, it's just 3 operators you need: create, train, and find to solve your shape-based matching application, and all the other things can be done by simple parameterization. And yes, the unification continues in Halcon 2111. With 2105, we already added the functionality of adapt shape model high noise into this generic shape model context. And now we added also the functionality of the clutter to this generic shape model. Some of you now might wonder, what the hell is he talking about? What does he mean with clutter? And that's why I want to explain it a little bit more detail to you, because it's a feature which is actually in Halcon since a few releases, but did not get the attention it might, should have, because it actually is very helpful. So if you have a shape-based matching application, as you can see here on the top, you generate a model of, for example, this solder ball. And what you can do with clutter is, additionally to the model, you can define areas of quietness. So for example, here in the lower image, we visualize in blue circle areas where we do not want to have any edge information. And the result here is shown in this example. On the upper image, you can see that using the regular shape-based matching without the clutter, you find every solder ball and now manually have to select the ones which have this quietness information on top and below. If you use clutter, like in the example below, you can see that directly you only get this matches returned where there is this quietness information. So you get only the solder balls on the outsides, which was your desired information. Let me give you another very good and common example for this feature. Just imagine you have an application where you want to grip this kind of screws. And to grip these screws, you need to have spaces for the finger to grip it around the screw head. And here you can define these areas as clutter areas, and your matching result will not be all screws inside the image. It will only be the screws which have this free space around and which are able to be gripped by a robot. So one very nice use case to visualize what the clutter feature is capable of, and that you should think of it when you are trying to solve shape-based matching applications. So what is now different? With Halcon 2011, the version we integrated this feature, you had to manually set the transformation of this clutter region, you had to define some contrast, you had to define the region itself. And now with HALCON 2111, no need to define any transformations or contrasts, you only input the regions. And to make it even more easy for you, we provided a new standard example in HALCON, which is called Pick and Place 2D HDEF, which shows exactly this example. And besides that, we added a new example for the generic shape matching to align OCR applications with the help of shape matching. Another very small feature in for shape matching, which I wanted to mention here, is that it is now possible to name your shape model. If we think of the screw example I just showed you, you may have different kind of shape models for different kind of screws, and you want to manage them in some kind of database maybe. Before this, the naming of the shape-based model was quite cryptic, as you can see on the left. With HALCON 2111, we allow you to set a model identifier, which allows you to just set any given name you want to identify your shape model in a later process. So that's it for this generic shape matching. The next thing we've made more usable, more easy, is for all the HALCONists working with HDevelop and dictionaries. So in this example on the left, you see that when using with dictionary, it was quite cumbersome to set values. So you had to create a dictionary, you had to use one call to set the dictionary tuple, and yeah, this was just not very convenient. With HALCON 2111, the first thing we added is that you can now initialize the dictionary in one line, as you can see in this small example. Another small feature of this dictionary is that dictionaries now have also some auto-completions. So if you're working with dictionaries which are already having keys, you can just type dict dot. So we have added a dot syntax to add and access keys, like in other programming languages. And you get suggestion of the keys which are inside these dictionaries. So you just select the one you need, and you can manipulate these values. So the main goal here was to have a simplified workflow which allows faster implementation and of course increases code readability, as you can have much more compact code and do not need to have this long set dict, get dict, set dict, get dict calls. Another example can be shown here. So you can directly use access dictionary values, like you see on the right. I just mentioned the dot writing for dict.mixed tuple to modify tuples. And what's also possible is to directly input dict values into HALCON operators. As you can see here, we have zoom image factor, dict.myImage, so you can directly give this image out of the dictionary to this operator. So no need to extract the image before, set it to the operator, and then manipulate it. Same goes for dict.myImage at the second position to write the result of the operator into this dictionary. And one other very nice thing, in my opinion, is you do not only have the static expressions, like you need to predefine your dictionary keys, like on the right side with the answer. You're also now possible to have dynamic expressions. So you can just create keys during runtime of your code, which will help you, for example, if you read in lists from dynamic files and want to use these strings as keys, for example. So the all-around dictionary is improved quite much. Another small thing in HDevelop, my colleague already mentioned it for Merlick, a feedback button. In HDevelop, there's now also a feedback button, and we also kindly ask you to use this to give us your feedback on what do you like about HALCON, what you don't like about HALCON, what are you missing. So feel free to use this button and to give us your feedback. But just one thing, please do not use it as or expect it to be a support channel. So if you're really having trouble with HALCON and you're not getting further with your applications, please contact your direct distributor for your direct support, as this formula is not meant as a support channel and will not have the kind of feedback channel to you in a regular basis, as our typical support has. So last but not least, in the mentioned list of all the major features of HALCON 2111, we have instance segmentation. Instance segmentation is one of our new deep learning technologies, and it combines basically the best of two worlds, the best of object detection on one side and semantic segmentation on the other side. Applications you can see here in the image are, for example, the accurate identification and measurement of naturally grown structures, like in this Petri dish on the right, or for example, the identification of bunched objects as a pre-processing for bin picking applications. And yeah, as I mentioned, it combines the best of two worlds, segmentation and object detection. Segmentation, we have pixel-precise results for objects, but if they are touching each other, you were not able to separate them, so there was only one instance. And object detection, separating of objects even if they are touching. So now with instance segmentation, your result is one segmented area per object in the image. So you can use it for counting, and you get pixel-precise results for further evaluation of area sizes and so on. Of course, it's always interesting on how the performance of such kind of technology is. So here, a small benchmark, but I want to mention that it strongly depends on the image size, the number of objects inside the image. So this value is just for one reference. And as you can see, our pre-trained networks on a GPU RTX 3080 is around 15.6 milliseconds. Of course, if you run it on a CPU, it will not need much more computation time, be around 300 milliseconds. And in the last line, you can see that this is not yet supported with our AI square interfaces like Openvino and TensorRT. That's why I also mentioned at the Openvino slide that Openvino supports all technologies in HALCON, deep learning technologies in HALCON, which are in 2105. So now you might wonder, okay, what does the labeled data for instance segmentation look like and how can I access them? So basically, when you label in HALCON or you want to create your labels with the help of HALCON, you need to have bounding boxes with a class label as for object detection. And for each of these objects, you need to have a tuple of regions. And this can in HALCON be read in by COCO format, in case you have already a labeled instance segmentation projects, which you labeled with maybe some open source kind of tool. So if it's COCO format, you can directly read it with the operator read DL dataset from COCO. But of course, if you want to label new images, we recommend to you the deep learning tool. And my colleague Christian will now show you how you can label instance segmentation with our deep learning tool.
Thank you very much, Mario. Yes, so we had the HALCON release yesterday, and you will just have to wait for one more week for the deep learning tool release. So this is going to be the 0.62 early adopter on the 25th of November. So what's new? Since this is the product news webinar, what's new in the release? So here you can see the deep learning portfolio coverage of our different products. As you can see, everything is covered by HALCON, of course. Classification is covered by deep learning tool and Merlick, so the whole workflow is covered. And object detection labeling has been covered by the deep learning tool for quite some time now. And now what we added with this and the last release is the labeling for segmentation. And this includes the instance segmentation that Mario just introduced to us. What we also added is pixel mask labeling. So this is what you can see on the left. This basically means you use a brush and an eraser to paint the pixel masks. And this is very convenient. So it uses a lot of shortcuts. and different tools just to help you to be as fast as possible during labeling. And then, as Mario mentioned, we also added instant segmentation labeling. So this is very close to the release in Helkin. This is just 1 week that you would have to wait for it. But we are proud to have the features released together. When we talk to you, we hear that one of the main reasons why segmentation, or in the past, the semantic segmentation, is not used as much as it should be, is the big labeling effort. So it's just too much investment. It takes too long to label the data, and it's also hard to manage the label quality. So we put a lot of work and effort into this manual labeling methods that we had, but we still felt it's not enough. We still have to speed up labeling with some kind of technology. So we put a lot of research in this, and I'm proud to present to you smart labeling, which will be released next week. So here what you do is you paint a box around the object, then you click inside the object, and you receive an automatic label suggestion. So for the next image, you can see the same again. I draw the rectangle around this defect on this pill. I click inside, and I get a fairly good label suggestion. However, please note, this is not going to be your silver bullet. It's not going to work for every use case. So in the next case, we see that if I draw this rectangle and click inside, the very left portion is not going to be recognized as a defect. So here I switch to manual labeling, so I just use this pixel mask labeling, and this is going to be necessary. So this is probably going to be necessary for a lot of cases, and it has to be, because if it was not necessary, you could just use this generic model for each of your case. So what you're doing by manually editing those labeling suggestions is you're adding more information into the model. So the more and more you label manually, the better it's going to be. And this is so during labeling, you're adding value to your solution. So here's another example. This is the standard example in Helkin for instance segmentation. Again, I draw the rectangle, click inside, and I get a fairly good label suggestion. So this speeds up labeling. The question is how much? And during research, we had several different approaches we evaluated, and I want to show you the results of our benchmark. So we tested this across 4 different datasets. So that's a standard dataset. It's mixed data, then a public dataset with urban scenes, an industrial dataset, and also our anomaly detection dataset. And you can see that across all datasets, the labeling time is significantly reduced when compared to polygon labeling. So this is just painting a polygon around the object. So there's a significant reduction in each dataset, and also the distribution. So these outliers are pulled together a lot. So I'm not giving you a figure, but I think it's around 60–70% reduction in labeling time. So what we also added, some smaller features for the release next week, is you can convert between pixel masks and polygons and the reverse. So you can just use both. If you have already labeled polygons somewhere, you can now convert them into masks and continue working with those. And what we also added, again, is this review tab for segmentation. So here you can see all the labels by class, and so if there are any mistakes, it will very quickly find them. So this should help you improve your dataset quality. So this concludes our product news webinar. And I hope we gave you a good overview of our products, of what's new. So please go ahead download our products, use the free trial version for Merlick. The deep learning tool is free of use anyway, so please download it and test it. And also use, also download the Hellconversion that was released just yesterday. So we will now continue with our Q&A. But first, I want to ask you to give us feedback on this format and also on our release, on our products. So please use this QR code with your phone. It's a very short survey. It should just take, I don't know, 1 minute probably to conclude. The link will also be posted in the chat, so you can just click on it and use that. And also, Christmas is coming up, so if you have any wish list for us, whatever features you want, whatever improvements you want, please use this survey to tell us. And now we come to the Q&A, so I introduce back our product managers and also Marcus.
All right. Thanks to you guys for this awesome presentations. And yeah, as you already mentioned, I brought my laptop. That means we have the Q&A session, and I'm very excited to hear your answers. So we start right now with the first question, and Mario, you do the beginning. I read it out. If we have multiple AI accelerators in a system, for example, one NVIDIA and one Openvino, can we use both in an application?
Yes, you can use both in an application. But there's not an automatic parallelization. For example, I have one inference and want to maybe split it on two. That's not possible, but you can use each of these devices for a different task. So if in your applications you might have several deep learning inferences which you want to run, which you need to get to your result, you can run the one on the Openvino, for example, and the other one on NVIDIA GPU using TensorRT. Yes, that's possible.
Thanks, Mario. We go on. Can dictionaries be converted to JSON and vice versa?
Yes, we added new operators for this. So there will be a dict to JSON and a JSON to dict operator. So using this, you can convert JSON files into dictionaries. And if you have a dictionary which you want to export to JSON, you can use this operator JSON to dict also to do this. Yes.
Perfect. Thanks. Last question for you before we move to the next answerer. Where can I download the Openvino Toolkit plugin? I cannot find it in the download area on www.mvtec.com.
Yes, it is not on our download area. The Openvino Toolkit plugin is available for download in our software manager. So if you go to mvtec.com, in the download area, you can find our software manager, which basically is our access tool, a future access tool for all our MVTec products. And if you use this to install Helkin on your system, there you can find Openvino Toolkit plugin as well as the TensorRT plugin to download. So if you're using Helkin 2105, you can find it there. If you download Helkin 2111, it will be automatically downloaded when you download the full Helkin package.
All right, Mario. Thanks a lot. Christoph, we have also questions for you. And I read out the first one. What is the mentioned concept feature? Does it mean that deep learning object detection will be available in Merlick 5.1?
More or less, yes. But we do not recommend to use it in production line. So this is really for feedback. So you can use it and give us your feedback. What is good, what is bad, what we can improve. But I think, it gives you an outlook about what's coming next. Yeah.
That sounds good. Just 1 second. We have some more questions right here, for example. Is it possible to use more than 4 image sources with Merlick, or is there a hard limit?
Yeah, no, there's no hard limit. So it's possible to have more than 4 cameras or 4 image sources, but we decided to have a low number of packages which are pre-selected. But if you're interested in more than 4, maybe 8 or maybe 16 cameras, let us know. We have this option on request.
All right. So one more question. will I need deep learning add-on for deep OCR and Merlick, or is it like Helkin where no deep learning license is needed?
That's a good question. And this is a future question, more or less, but maybe I can spoil a little bit. Yes, we will provide the deep OCR functionality, what will, by the way, not named as deep OCR in Merlick, because we have another kind of naming schema in Merlick, but it will be available without the deep learning add-on with 5.1.
All right, Christoph, thanks. Now we move to Christian. Also for you, we have questions, and the first one would be, when will training for object detection be included in the deep learning tool?
Yeah, so
good question.
It's a good question. It's a good question. Merlick is waiting for it. Yes, so this is definitely the one that we get the most requests for, and also the feature that we will start working on next. So around the new year or beginning of next year, we're gonna start development there, and then it should be included fairly soon, I hope.
Sounds good. The second question, also very interesting. Will the deep learning tool remain free of charge?
Yes, this is also a question that we get a lot. So yes, it will remain free of charge. We have currently no plans of changing this fact. So you can expect that it remains free for the foreseeable future.
Good news. Yeah. Thanks a lot. The next question, Mario, it's your turn again. Do you already support the new MI ARM chips for Mac OS?
Kind of. With Helkin 21.11, we support the latest Mac OS operating systems. So for the Intel versions, Helkin can be used. With the M1 ARM version, the fact is that there are emulators out there to run Intel programs on this ARM-based processors, and this can be used to run Helkin on the M1 ARM. We did some tests, and we did not figure out any kind of performance issues when doing so. That's why at the moment we recommend for such kind of users to use emulators to run Helkin or HDevelop on this kind of processors from Mac.
Thanks, Mario. The next question is about Merlick again. So Christoph, that's your keyword. How can I use Merlick with 12 cameras?
I think we had a similar question slightly before. Yeah, yes. We have this option on request. So get in contact with your local distributor. He will have an option for you to enlarge the number of image sources we support with Merlick.
All right, then let's move on. Oh, a good question here. Can you say Merlick is better than the Helkin in terms of the image pre-processing?
I don't know, Mario.
No,
for sure, Merlick could not be better in pre-processing or in image processing tools, because Helkin is under the hood, and this is the perfect tool for Merlick. I think Merlick is for other user. The concept is for other users, and that's the difference, more or less. So we do not talk about better or worse. So I think it's different.
It's different.
As Christoph just mentioned, yeah, I think it's not a secret that there's Helkin below Merlick for the image processing components, and so it's just not possible that the one is better than the other.
Okay, thanks, guys. Can I use Openvino with my existing non-Helkin software? If yes, how, Christoph?
So we interpret non-Helkin software as Merlick, maybe. And the name for non-Helkin software is Merlick for that guy who posts that. And what was the question?
Can I use Openvino with my existing non-Helkin software? If yes, how?
No, it's not a feature within Merlick 5. So it's a feature we provide with Merlick 5.1 next spring. But if you're interested as a pilot customer or talking about a pilot application, please get in contact with us. So maybe we can share a pre-version to get in touch with Openvino already in Merlick.
Okay, the next question I can answer. The question is, can you share the presentation? Yes, we shared a recording after the event, maybe a few days later, but Yes, that was my answer. And now we move to you guys again. Can we update our Hellconversion without extra payments, Mario?
It depends, but as we are talking about Helkin progress here, since Helkin 2111 is Helkin progress release, basically yes, because Helkin progress edition is based on subscription. So if you have an Helkin progress license running Helkin 2105, of course you can just download and your license will be able to make use of these new Helkin releases. So when you're using Helkin progress, you're using Helkin 2105, for example, you can just use it without any payment as it is in this annual subscription. Of course, if you're a Helkin Steady customer, you're using Helkin 2011 Steady. In this case, no, there's no way to use this without extra payment. In this case, you would have to change or to add up a Helkin progress subscription to be able to use these features. Yes, so I think this would be the answer to this question.
All right, thanks. Christian, the next question is for you again. Somebody's asking when the new deep learning tool will be released.
Yeah, maybe the question was before my talk. So yeah, this is going to be today in a week.
Good answer. Is the clutter function in shape matching can work with a 3D application, Mario? I guess this is for you.
Yes. So no, the clutter function I just showed you in the presentation is based on 2D shape-based matching. So it's basically an add-on to our shape-based matching technology, which is completely based on 2D images. So this cannot directly be applied to 3D data or 3D applications which you might have. Of course, if you are using shape-based matching on kind of an image you get from a 3D camera, which also provides RGB information or grayscale information, and you can use shape-based matching on, then you can use it. But working on point clouds, this is a different topic, as this is the technology for this would be surface-based matching, and this feature is only for shape-based matching.
All right, thanks. The next question, Merlick, I think we had similar questions, but maybe you can answer them again. Can I run in Merlick XL also 4 cameras? We had similar.
In Merlick XL, 4 cameras are included. I think maybe the question was more than 4, and yes, it's available on request.
More than 4, you're right. Okay, guys, one last question. Is there any tool for defining the edge when using the deep edge feature?
I think it's Helkin, because in Merlick there's no deep edge yet available. So I guess it maybe goes into the direction of labeling the edges. Might be. So basically, when talking about the deep learning edge extraction in Helkin, the label is kind of a pixel-wise labeling. And this is something which you might be able to solve with this segmentation labeling in the deep learning tool. So if you want to label edges, check out the deep learning tool, use this semantic segmentation project in the deep learning tool, and you should be able to just label small, thin lines, and then export this and use it in Helkin for further training.
All right, guys. Since we are running out of time, we have still some questions, but yeah, I would like to tell you that we are going to answer all your questions which we couldn't answer today due to time concerns. We are going to answer afterwards individually, so we get in touch with you. Don't worry, we don't forget your questions. All right. Then also I would like to tell you that in the next few days you will receive the recording of this whole webinar, and also in that recording you will find handouts where you get further special material. On top of that, I would like to encourage you once more that you can take part in our survey, which we posted in the chat box in the GoToWebinar application. Last but not least, I have some good news. Save the date. since we are planning our MVTec Innovation Day again in February. Also, you find there a link in the chat box where you can check out all the information. This year is going to be a blast. It will be packed with interesting presentations, demonstrations, great networking possibilities, and more. And we are celebrating, of course, our 25th anniversary. So make sure to check out the website and make sure to be there to discover the full potential of machine vision. That was our product news webinar. Yeah, thanks a lot, guys, for your presentations, for your answers. Thanks a lot for your participation. I think we had a good time. And yeah, feel free to contact us if you have any need. And thanks a lot. Have a good day. See you soon and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.